What's happening, road dogs and highway hounds? Here's a question for you. When will Coinbase delist Ethereum? You talk about fair release. I think a fair release is one of the most important things in cryptocurrency. And it's one of the things that people talk about the least. But when you're ascribing a coin that has value, unlike RSK, which is not a commodity, there are things, you go to rsk.co and look on their website, there's no value to their fuel for their coins, for their tokens or whatever. I'm not sure how that works. I'm just learning and I'm trying to brainstorm, but I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm getting a startup ready, starting a business, and I can't in good conscience tell my customers that, you know, I have a problem. I have a personal problem about telling somebody, yeah, you should buy some of these Ethereum and use this because they're a commodity or an asset, right? Just like Bitcoin and Litecoin are. But the problem is there's a huge risk because of the way that they were distributed, because 80% of the supply was distributed to who knows, most likely institutional investors and insiders, and we know some of them, you know, like what is it, 7 or 14%, I can't remember, went to the developers themselves, and the other 70% went to people who bought at the pre-sale, and then everybody else has to fight over the 15% that's left, which the company Ethereum actually raised 60 million in Bitcoin, so they could actually buy that 15% up and cause the price to shoot up to $50, $100 or whatever. But the manipulation potential is so there, and not that you can't manipulate Bitcoin and Litecoin, but to me, there's just a lot of ickiness in the way that was released. And what I'm wondering, if I would think that if I told my customers to buy that, knowing how it was released, and if anything bad happened from, you know, one of the, you know, somebody dumping their coins or whatever, somebody in the pre-sale or the developers or the company, and they dump their coins, like what happened in Ripple a long time ago when the CEO decided to abandon ship and he sold all of his Ripple onto the scene. Go back and look at the charts and you'll see a big drop in the price of Ripple, and that was because the CEO decided to abandon ship. What happens if the same thing happens to the 80% of the supply of Ethereum? What happens if some big major player wants to abandon ship and loses faith in Ethereum, like what happened in the Dow hack, and that goes from $100 down to 50 cents or wherever Ripple's at now? I don't even know where that's at. Is it above 5 cents now? I'm not sure. I don't pay attention anymore. I just realized that there's a liability factor from CEOs and whatnot from that incident that happened in Ripple. What if that happens in Ethereum, and I willingly know the history of this stuff, and I tell my customers to buy Ethereum, and some major holder decides to dump it, and the price tanks from 100 down to 50 cents? They're going to look at me and say, you knew that this happened before in Ripple? You knew that this happened before with one of these corporate coins? And you told me to buy this? Could I be held liable? I don't know. It's a question. It's a question that I'm asking. But, and Coinbase, by putting Ethereum on their exchange makes it very accessible and almost gives their approval to that distribution method. And it really does give their approval to the distribution method. It says that it's okay, which I don't see how anybody in their right mind could say that giving 80% to insiders is okay and making people fight over the 15%. I don't know if they thought down that far down the road. I mean, the whole thing with them putting Ethereum on Coinbase seemed like a very amateurish move, in my opinion. But who am I? I'm just a truck driver. But it seemed like, I mean, I remember the euphoria that was going on at the time with Vitalik and all the things, you know, because you look at the guy and you can tell he's a brilliant, smart guy. But that doesn't mean he knows a whole lot about finance or the way that these coins are released, or that he even considered that. He was more into the programming of it. But Coinbase is a financial company, and they should know that that release is unappealing. And my question is, what do you think? What do you think about that? If you did they warn you about the way that it was released when you bought your Ethereum off of Coinbase? Did you know that? How did you know that? If you're new to this space, you come in here and you just see it on Coinbase and you say, well, it must be good. It's approved by Coinbase. It's got their thumbs up, so I might as well buy it. But you don't know about the risk that I'm just talking about now. I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable telling somebody to buy Ethereum because of the release. Now, if, you know, like Bitcoin, you know that Satoshi had 1 million, is sitting on 1 million, and there's a bunch out there. And that's kind of why I like Litecoin, because it levels the playing field and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I don't know. To me, Coinbase putting it on their exchange was youthful folly. Let's call it that. They put out a cryptocurrency, and after they put it on their exchange, the DAO was hacked and everybody lost $60 million. You new people coming in. Are you aware that $60 million was siphoned off from the Ethereum platform through the DAO? $60 million of people's money was, you know, because they put it right onto Coinbase. This untested, very experimental, untested coin. Just wonder where the liability comes in. I mean, it's scary enough being in Bitcoin and Litecoin. You know, you don't know what's going on there, but when you know how the release, you know at least the release was fair on Litecoin. A little bit less so on Bitcoin, but you kind of excuse that because nobody knew what Bitcoin was in 2009. So you kind of wink, nod, okay, I still don't agree with you guys that are out there saying Satoshi deserves 1 million of them. Does he, doesn't he? I don't care. I'm not going to get my panties in a bunch about all that, but I do like the fact that Litecoin was fairly released to level that playing field out a bit. But Ethereum, boy, that's disgusting. What do you guys think? You think they should delist Ethereum from Coinbase? Or should Coinbase be held liable for giving their approval to Ethereum? What happens if Joe Lubin, the Goldman Sachs CEO or former hedge fund manager, or one of the institutional investors that he would have probably recruited to invest in Ethereum, what happens if they if one of those major players decide to dump? Should there be a disclaimer on Coinbase to kind of warn their customers? I know I would surely warn my customers if I was going to say, well, we can use Ethereum, but here's the risks involved. I would think that that's just common sense, but I haven't seen anything like that on Coinbase, but I don't sit there and read everything on their website either. I just buy my stuff and get out of it. But it's something to think about. Adios, muchachos.